Firstly going to introduce the first of our three speakers. It's Rosa, and Rosa is our operations manager at Peertalk, and she's going to tell you more about what Peertalk does. So over to you, Rosa.
Thank you, Meg. So I'm just going to spend a few minutes, everybody, thank you for coming along, by the way, talking about what a Peertalk peer support group looks like, how it works, why it works, who it's for, as a backdrop to the two talks that follow this. So it'll only take a matter of minutes, hopefully. So here we go. So the Peertalk peer support groups are primarily for people living with depression or any other similar distress or overwhelm. So there are people who come to our support group meetings with a clinical diagnosis, but equally there are people who come without a formal diagnosis, people who feel stuck in a difficult place, facing a variety of life-changing stuff like loss, bereavement, stress within the family, stress at work, relationship breakdowns, financial worries, the stuff of life, really. This is what people bring to the group. But just to let you know of some of the diagnostic labels that people mention across our groups, we hear of anxiety, bipolar, OCD, PTSD, psychosis, BPD, hearing voices, eating disorders, schizoaffective disorder. These are some of the terms that are mentioned across our groups. So a little bit about the support groups. They're run by two trained volunteers, facilitators. These facilitators don't offer their opinion or their judgment, they facilitate. So they listen, they paraphrase, they hold the space so the people there can share and support each other. And that's the strength of the group, that the support comes from other people who know the experience of distress and overwhelm. And they are really well placed to offer empathy, support, and practical suggestions too. So we're very clear at Peertalk what the group is about, and more importantly, what it isn't. So the purpose of the group is not to treat depression, neither is it therapy. It's support. It's a support group in a non-clinical setting. And very often our attendees draw strength from the knowledge that they're not alone. That's an overwhelming feeling that we hear about. It's a place where people are heard, they're valued, they're accepted as they are in that moment. And that's aside from the practical help that they might receive. Having said all of that, there's no doubt that there are some very therapeutic elements to this sort of encounter. Being heard, being accepted, not being judged is of immense value. So this group offers support. I think it offers hope as well. So the meetings have a very defined structure, and they start with an introduction outlining the parameters of the group, how the group works, the boundaries around confidentiality, what the exceptions to that confidentiality are. And we do this every single week. And we think this is quite important because it gives a sense of familiarity, consistency, sets out a sense of security, a safe space for people to share. And this happens across all of our countries, all of our groups across the country every single week. And then the space is opened up for anyone who would like to share. So there's no topics, there's no set agenda, we never have outside speakers. People simply share what's going on for them at the time, and other attendees respond, and generally they respond in a few ways. Some will say, yeah, I get that, I can relate to that, we hear that a lot, and they will offer empathy. And others will offer what's helped them when they've been in a similar situation. So the facilitators listen and summarize what's offered, and then the space is opened up again. And essentially that's a process, a rolling process that goes through the peer support group meeting. So why does it work? People come to our groups because they want to come along. It feels different, so they tell us, to the statutory services. there's a sense of shared ownership of the group. So the attendees are the one who support, who offer advice, who offer encouragement. And what strikes me as a facilitator sometimes at these groups is the diversity within these groups is quite remarkable. So people from all walks, and I really do mean all walks of life, come along. And sometimes I sit there and I think, how does this work? But it does, because people all are welcomed and accepted and not judged, accepted for who they are. So what do people get out of it? I think primarily people get out of it a sense of connection. Definitely, I hope, an increased sense of support, the encouragement to carry on. It keeps people going. And we know it's good to talk. Peer talk, we think and believe it's also even better when people are heard. So I wouldn't say that problems are necessarily solved or magically disappear when people come along to our peer support groups, but people do feel better. They feel lighter after a meeting. They say so. Why? And I think that's because there's a mutual understanding, respect, and support. How can that not work? Mutual understanding, mutual respect, mutual support. How can that be unhelpful? So practical stuff now. There's no need for people to be referred. They don't need to book. They can simply come along. There are no waiting lists and it's free. So some people are recommended to our group by their counsellors or perhaps by their mental health team, their support worker, their social prescribers. Others see our poster at the health centre. Some people see it at the supermarket, and others simply find us on Google, find us that way. So finally, this kind of support might be helpful to someone whose treatment or other support is coming to an end, or indeed if they're waiting for that treatment to begin and are on a waiting list. And it might just be what some people need to keep them going, to help them make sense of what's happening to them in that moment. It offers support through difficult times. So is there a peer support group in your area? All of our groups are listed on our website. Look us up, just Google Peertalk, we're there. And essentially that's the group and how it works. So I hope that's been a helpful overview of the support space that Peertalk offers. Thank you for listening and for your attention this time. And I'm going to hand back to Meg. Thanks, Meg.